Do you guys hear that? That is the sign that I am filming at home. Alright, fellow princesses and princesses, hi, how are you guys doing? It is Starry and I am back with a video. Because it's not like it's been a long time. Me, procrastinate, never. Alright guys, so it has been a long time since my last video, and the reason for that being is just like procrastination. Also, college isn't interesting, I guess. Like there's no, since coming from the Disney college program, there's like no Disney content to film, I feel. And like that's the reason why a lot of people subscribe to my channel. And it's kind of why this video is being made. Woo! Because I'm finally getting around to it. So I've been wanting to make this video for actually quite a long time. I've been trying to figure out a way, because if you like look in like my description, it says Fashion blogger on there, and that's like what I originally created this channel for. I created this channel so that I could do like fashion content and fashion videos, because it's something I'm really passionate about. Sorry guys, we're gonna try a different angle with this and see if that works. So it's something I'm really passionate about, and it's the kind of the reason why I created this channel in the first place. And I think since I was starting the Disney College program right when I made this channel, it kind of became a Disney College program channel, but that's not all I intended this channel to be. That being said, because I had already done such Disney content, I had a really hard time trying to figure out how to segue into the fashion part of this channel. And I feel like my class this semester has given me a really good reason to get back to why I started this channel. So I just mentioned my class. I don't think I've ever mentioned it on this channel before, but I am a sociology and music double major. I try my really best to incorporate those two together. Not quite sure what I'm gonna do with all of that after I graduate, but that is the major that I'm in. And this semester I happened and got the real amazing chance to take this class called Race, Sex, Class, and Gender at my school, which was really amazing. I had a really fun time with it. But basically for my final project, I was able to kind of do whatever I wanted as long as I incorporated it with one of the things that we talked about. And for me, I decided to do it on fashion, gender, and sexuality. I did a lot of research about gender and sexuality in fashion, and how fashion itself seems to break the sociological norms while still instilling them at the same time. So I talk about like women not being able to wear pants until like a long time, and how women's clothes was kind of debilitating, and it wouldn't allow for, it restricted movement, it restricted like how much you could grow, that kind of thing, and how that kind of helped install gender roles in our society, because women couldn't do the work that guys could do because they couldn't dress the way that guys could dress, and kind of going along the lines of that. And then I also talk about like androgynous fashion, how it incorporates representation of different sexualities and gender. And what I mean by sexuality expression, I'm not talking about the sexualization of the clothes. I did have somebody who was like, well, what would be like bi fashion or something like that. The reason why I chose to include sexuality is because I actually found this article called like Sexual Representation and Why It Matters, and it was basically just why it matters to have other options in clothing and styles and cuts for people to express all different modes of themselves, and so that's why I included sexuality as well. Outside of the research project, I then surveyed several fashion, like Fashion, and online communities, basically on alternative fashion, because I was looking at people who dress outside of the societal norm, and I was looking at how comfortable they were with themselves, how comfortable they feel about expressing themselves through their fashion, whether they feel like it has an influence on them, or whether they feel like they have an influence on it, whether they feel like gender plays a role, whether they feel like sexuality plays a role, and just looking at all of those different things and styles, and how they correlate with how they feel about their fashion community, whether they feel like their fashion community was very accepting or helpful to them, or whether they felt like it was close or a reason why they feel more comfortable with themselves. And so I found a lot of different things based off of that. Gender-wise, it wasn't as diverse as I probably would have liked it to be. If I definitely had to go back and do this project again, I would probably try and survey like so much of one community, but it worked out pretty well in general. I had a lot of people who were like cisgender, a lot of people who were transgender, a lot of people who identified as no gender or agender, or they identified as non-binary, or they identified as gender fluid, and like there were definitely a lot of different people's perspectives, and I really enjoyed like seeing all of that and understanding where everybody was coming from for it. On the sexuality spectrum, it was very diversified. People from all different sexualities were represented through the survey, and I thought that was really great. As far as gender identity when it keyed into fashion, there were a lot of responses that said that it did. Either it allowed them to be more fluid when expressing their gender, or they felt like they were raised a certain way, and so the stricter gender types were like instilled on them when they were younger. I did find that most people who actually identified as heterosexual despite that, or they identified as like cisgender, they often found that they would go in between styles from like male and female, going in between, and I thought that was really interesting because I thought that they might not, because they are heterosexual and cisgender, and so they don't really need to express themselves as much outside of the norm, but they definitely said that it had an impact on them. Sexuality-wise, a lot of people said that like sexuality didn't have anything to do with their clothing. Some people did. Some people said it was like a way to come out without coming out, or they felt like it still influenced them. But most people said that, you know, sexuality really didn't have much to do with it, which was fine. As far as the fashion community goes, many people said that like fashion led them to finding like their significant other or friends or family. It gave them a circle and a place to be in that made them feel comfortable and know that they're not alone. Whereas other people said sometimes their fashion community really hindered their progress with finding themselves, because they were either really stuck up about it, or they like did something that made them not feel like it was okay to explore themselves. And so while the majority said that they felt comfortable and loved and supported by their fashion community, there was still a small percentage that said that they weren't comfortable with it at all, and they relied more on outside influences. Now that being said, a lot of the people who said that they weren't as comfortable with their fashion community often reported having like outside sources of comfort or home, like they had supportive friends or coworkers or family outside of their fashion community, so people who dressed within the societal norms. But that would have to be something that would have to be looked at a little closer later, I guess. So besides that, a lot of people expressed the fact that they felt fashion to them was a way for them to really show their creativity and themselves. A quote, and like I'm actually gonna read it because it was absolutely beautiful, was, "I think fashion can be a great way to express who you are, including gender and sexuality. However, people sometimes forget that clothing is not always a statement, and people also just enjoy wearing things that seem strange to the masses." And I feel like that's really appropriate for a lot of the people who dress in alternative fashion today. It's especially true for me. Not everything I wear is a statement about gender or sexuality. Not all the time am I trying to stick it to the person. There are just times where where like other people in the fashion community just go out and you want to wear what you love. And I think that that is the biggest thing ever, is just wear what you love, wear what makes you feel comfortable. Don't think about societal norms or gender norms or sexuality norms. You should do what really makes you happy. And I feel like if the fashion community helps you with that, then that's great. But also if you have outward sources, that's also okay too. So after doing this whole project, I really wanted to showcase people in fashions that they loved, because I feel like it's really important to have representation, but it's also just really important to have representation of people doing something that they're very passionate about, or that they love dearly, or that they find themselves like really inside of something. And so this was kind of like a creative fun element. I gathered like a bunch of pictures together. I don't really know how much I got in total. It wasn't like a huge ton or anything, but it was just some people doing what they absolutely loved, and I really want to showcase them at the end of this video. So I'll link the paper down below. I also have the handles of every single person who sent a picture in, unless they didn't want their picture, or unless they didn't want their handle featured. If they didn't want it there, it's not there. But most of the people you will be able to find down below, and I'm super excited and happy for this to start. I think after this video, I have another video to explain Disney content, and then I'll probably do another fashion video for next week. Yeah, so that's it. Enjoy the colorful photos and the rest of this video, and as always, stay magical.